man is a competitive creature. Give him a means of transportation and he will try to race it or move faster than someone else. Mind you, some of his efforts have bordered on the ridiculous. Real spectacle, though, give him some horsepower and a set of wheels. It was the Colosseum. In Australia, it's Bathurst, and a mountain circuit, site of this country's greatest road race.
The Hardie-Ferodo 500, testing ground for standard production cars, testing ground for horsepower and the brake power to tame it. The sort of brake power that can stop a thundering V8 from 130 miles per hour, time after time. The brake power you get from Hardie-Ferodo 500 disc brake pads.
Hardly a Roman chariot, but not what you'd imagine as a racing machine either. It's a Vauxhall Cresta, and this model was the first winner of an event that's grown into the most important motor race in Australia. It's now known as the Hardie-Ferodo 500. It's had other names, the Armstrong 500, the Gallagher 500, and two homes, Phillip Island and Bathurst. Despite the changes, the event has stayed true to its original concept, a 500-mile race for standard production cars. It's unique, the only one of its kind in the world. It was, and still is, divided into classes according to price. In fact, it's only in the last 5 years or so that an outright winner has been recognized. Since the first race, way back in 1960, there's been a variety of winning cars and people. My name's Evan Green. Join me for the next hour, and we'll meet some of the characters and see some of the incidents and talk about the future of a race we call the Fabulous 500. The first three races were held at Phillip Island, Victoria. They were purely class affairs, and the classes were based on price. There was no award for first across the line. And the cars were even started in groups, big cars first. This was the 1960s start. First across the line in that first race, with Frank Code as co-driver, was John Roxburgh.
Well, it's hard to think back, of course. 1960's 12 races ago now, but I remember we had a good car and I had a good co-driver. We were very lucky, and I think that anyone that wins a 500 has to be lucky. The opposition all fell over and we were quicker. I think it was a good track, a good day. The only thing that happened, we hit a seagull, I think. We ran out of brakes. And it seems a long time ago. It's probably the last amateur 500, I suppose. That's the way I'd look back on it now. I've been in most of them since, and I think it's the last amateur one we're ever in. And we're probably the first people to have a professional pit crew, I suppose. It's probably what set the race going from where it is to where it is now is that it had a fair impact on sales. In our particular case, we were driving a Vauxhall Cresta, and they didn't have many Vauxhall Crestas to sell since discovered, and they ran out of them very quickly, and they were very happy, so I suppose they were the first happy sponsor. It has to be a first for everyone. There's been an awful lot of unhappy ones since, but the next 2 years, of course, things got more tough, and we drove Vauxhalls both times, Frank Code and I, and the second year, I think it'd be 61, I crashed the damn thing, and it took about 11 or 12 minutes to get it going again, and we lost the race by about 3/4 of a minute, I think. And the following year, Cody crashed it, so we ended up all pretty even on that score. And we were driving a better car in some ways, but we had some front end problems. Of course, over those last 2 years, the track got terribly rough, and it was like the Red X trial. And what happened was that people began to have troubles which you don't normally have motor racing. It was more like motor trialing. Holes this deep came in the track, and we were one of that fell by the wayside because of that. And basically that's what happened to the race, I suppose. That's why it came to Bathurst in the beginning. The track got cut up so badly in the last event at Phillip Island that the club couldn't repair it, and it actually put the track out of existence for, I suppose, about 5 or 6 years. And that's why it moved up to Bathurst.
Bathurst, west of the Blue Mountains, already had a long tradition of motor racing. The city's Mount Panorama Circuit, a 3.8-mile scenic loop road, had been used before the war, in the days when the surface was unsealed. This 150-mile race in 1938 was won by Englishman Peter Whitehead at an average of 66.2 miles per hour. It was brave motoring. In 1963, and the circuit was first closed for the 500. On the grid were 56 cars, 16 different makes, either made or assembled in Australia. The race was still run, officially at least, purely in classes, and the 63 race saw a classic scrap between 2 cars in the cheapest price category. It was like this for lap after lap. As the race drew to a close, Lindsay Little was driving the Morris 850 and Barry Ferguson was in the VW. Here's how our commentators called it in 1963.
23 has 2 to go, and there they go, the 2 cars together, 55 and 54.
28 laps with 2 to go. 2 laps to go.
Oh, a lot of traffic on the corner this time. Oh, a very close vice there for a moment with the... it looks like the Valiant. Yes, it was. And then, oh, on the inside, there goes Ferguson in the Volkswagen. He's taken the lead again. Now, there he is.
For the third time, Bob Jane and Harry Firth were in the winning car, this time a Cortina GT, but the real drama was to happen behind the leader as Jane crossed the line. So near. Little in the Mini had hit the fence on the last bend of the last lap. He managed to finish, but a little chastened. In 1964, Bob Jane made it 4 in a row, driving this time with George Reynolds. His old partner Harry Firth was third. For years, Studebaker Larks had carried the flag for big cars, leading in the early stages but breaking wheels and suffering generally from overweight. People were saying that Bathurst was not a circuit for big cars. 1965. Newcomers in Internationals Hopkirk and Mackinnon and a team of Japanese Toyotas. It was to be a race of upsets. This race saw the appearance of the Cortina GT 500, a limited production high-performance car built to suit the circuit. It was significant because it showed manufacturers had realised the marketing value of a win at Bathurst. The winners were Barry Seaton and Midge Bosworth. And then came the year of the Mini. In 1966, Rauno Aaltonen of Finland became the first overseas driver to win the 500. Just watch his line down the mountain. The Finn and Bob Holden took number 13 to victory. Minis filled the first 9 places, and people were calling for a change in the rules to open the race to more competition. For 67, the rules were changed and imported cars appeared. Alphas ran into trouble due to soft paint on their race wheels. The new V8 Falcon GTs for the first time showed that Bathurst was a power circuit and the era of the small car was over. The flag went out for the Gagan brothers, but a recount showed that Fred Gibson and Harry Firth had won. It was Firth's 4th win, and he retired. 1968 was a Monaro year. Drivers like Brian Muir found the big Holdens a little wide. Not that you needed a big car to get into trouble. The least worried man was Bruce McPhee, a private entrant from Wyong. He won and gave number 13 its 2nd victory. A Citroën circulated steadily, except for one memorable attempt at Forrest's elbow. '69 saw the appearance of the Falcon GT-HO, the most powerful car ever made in Australia. The start was a little bumpy, but worse was to come. The first lap was to see the worst pile-up in the history of the 500. Bill Brown in a Falcon clipped the bank and rolled. Watch the Alpha of John French. It was next to go and was rammed 4 times. 15 cars were involved. Again, it was a Monaro year. The winners were a pair of rally men, Tony Roberts and a rising star named Colin Bond. Holden's went smaller for 1970 with the Tirana XU1. It was the year of the professionals. Colin Bond for Holden and Alan Moffat for Ford. On the first lap, Bond stirred the blood of every Holden enthusiast by outbraking the Fords at the end of the straight. After 5 laps, however, Moffat put the Big Falcon back into the lead and he stayed there till the end.
Stop! Hardie-Ferodo stops the world. Friction materials for transport and industry.
The 500 has produced many personalities. Some have advertised petrol on the side of their cars, but only one has developed to having his name on the side of the petrol pumps. The one driver to have won the 500 4 times in a row, Bob Jane, is in big business these days. Competing has become a serious enterprise. What type of racing do you enjoy most, as it used to be or as it is today?
Well, I think as it used to be, because the cars were much more closely contended. You know, the cars were much closer than they are today.
Bob, when you first won the 500-mile race, you were a reasonably small businessman. Today you have huge enterprises in many states, yet you still keep racing. In fact, this year you won the Australian Touring Car Championship. Racing is a hazardous business. Why do you do it?
Well, the hazards are calculated in your younger part of your life. They don't appear to be too high. As you get older, you realise that there are hazards and you become a bit more careful. I don't see it as a very hazardous occupation. I enjoy it. I think it's part of, when you've been driving for 15 years, 16 years, it becomes second nature.
This is a race that you've never won.
No. Oh, yes. Yes, I'd very much like to win it. I've won most other races, and I'd like to win this one before I knock off.
How about some of those past races? You have been very close to success. You've had a lot of misfortune.
Yes, well, we haven't had a lot, but you only need a little bit of misfortune in this race. This race, to win this race, you need to have no trouble at all. If anything unscheduled happens, that's about it. If you need to stop for anything other than fuel and tyres at planned stops, that's it. And we've had a series of minor problems over the years. I remember one year it was as minor as an accelerator linkage falling off whilst we were comfortably in the lead. Another year, a generator bracket broke. We've had some more serious things than that. We had serious tyre trouble one year. But generally, they've been rather insignificant things, but still enough to cause us to lose the race.
One of the great tacticians of the 500 is Bruce McPhee of Wyong, New South Wales. Winner in 1968, second last year. He explains his pre-race strategy.
Well, fairly comprehensive, the whole deal. First of all, we keep a little black book or a big black book, whichever you like to call it, and we put everything in this. We put the drivers that are in each of the other cars. We take their temperament into account, how many people are driving the car, whether it be one or two. Then we get down to the mechanics of the car, have a good look at the brakes, and the car must be shipshape. It must be a goer, otherwise you've got a hard job ahead of you. But we take most things into account and we write all this down year to year. In the race itself, I'd say one of the hardest jobs as far as tactics are concerned are to practice restraint. this applies probably just as much on the road as in a race, but you must hold back. It's a long race. It's not a 5 or a 10 lap sprint. If the car is going to last the distance, mainly the brakes and other parts of the car, you must hold a fair bit in hand, say, first half of the race, possibly as much as 4 seconds under your potential lap time per lap, and then increase your rate as the race progresses.
Colin Bond won in 1969 and ushered in a new era. He was the first full-time professional driver to win the 500. A former hill climb exponent and this year's Australian rally champion, he's about to step into the world of Formula 5000 racing with the Frank Maddich team. I asked him how he regarded this year's race.
Well, I think it's important because it is the biggest race we have in Australia, but, you know, particularly for these type of motor cars. And naturally, you'd like to win the biggest race. Our sponsors also would like to win it. And I know that all the boys that work on the cars, I think, to me, I get a great kick if I do win because I know that the effort that they've put into working on the car is not all lost. The car's actually won. And I can remember in 69 particularly that, to me, winning 69, I sort of felt that it was a great credit to Harry Firth at the time because Harry had left Ford, gone to Holden. He'd won for Ford the previous years, and now he'd gone to Holden and won for Holden. And it just sort of meant then that there was a bit more to Bathurst than just being in a motor car, that whatever motor car he seemed to have something to do with, it did go very well at Bathurst. I know that Peter and myself will be getting in the cars and driving them flat out for 500 miles because I think the 500 now has become a race that the fastest driver will win this event. It's no longer become the stage where you can sit back in, say, second, third or fourth position, wait for the others to drop out, then win. I think you've got to go flat out from the word go, and the one that does get to the finish will be the winner.
No person has played such a commanding role in the story of the 500 as Harry Firth. He's called the Grey Fox, and this is his lair. From his Melbourne garage, Firth has prepared the cars that have won the race no fewer than 7 times. 4 of the cars he drove himself.
It used to be a bit of a joke when it first started off. Everyone used to go down to Phillip Island and have a great big rorty weekend. But it's changed a lot now. It's a deadly serious business as far as we're all concerned. The Mercedes was, I suppose, the closest thing to a production car which we ever ran because we knew very little about it and we tried altering all various things and it didn't seem to make very much difference to us, so we put those all back where we started and we decided we'd take it to pieces and we said, well, it's fast enough, we won't bother. The next year with the Falcon, I often look back on that because I upended 3 cars in 3 weeks. Just before Phillip Island, we'd taken the car down for a last test and they said the track was finished, but when we got down there, it had all sort of rubble over it and, you know, it was disgraceful straight. And anyhow, we decided we'd have a go on it, which we did. We lost the car and upended it, had to go away and fit up a new body shell. And the thing changed a bit after that. I suppose we got very much more professional and they took it to Bathurst. And I had a big argument with Joni. He wanted to drive a big V8 and I said, no, this new Cortina is just a thing. It's a nice size. It's got disc brakes and a lot of things which he'd never heard of. We had all the New South Wales people telling us that Bathurst was their piece of dirt and that we didn't know how to drive there and, you know, didn't know what to do and I was too old. All this even then. And so we just went along with this and we practiced at a very slow speed and we were quite content to, you know, get in a reasonable sort of place. It didn't make much difference though because after 5 laps we were in front and we never lost it. 57 we went back to the first of the V8s for Ford again and it was a bit hard because everyone said, well, the big cars won't do any good up there. They're not going to get to first base and the Alfa Romeo will win. That was a very hard race, I suppose. Well, that was the last race I went in. I suppose it was one of the hardest because there was the Geegans, Jane, you name it, everyone had a V8.
Harry, that was the year there was some confusion about the finish.
There was no confusion as far as we're concerned. We were well aware that we were well ahead of what they were. And the
the timekeeper was saying, well, there's the time, and they all add up, and those people have done 131 laps, and the lap scorer was saying, no, Geoghegan was won. Well, he was wrong, and the timekeeper was right. And our own records, which we keep for the entire team, showed that we were in front. And the others knew this as well as we did, and I was quite surprised that they went out and took the trophy, really. Because it did, as far as I was concerned, sort of take a little bit of the edge off, because I would have liked to have announced there on the track that I was finished. And it was a bit of a sort of second wind to have to go and do it up at the clubhouse afterwards.
How did it feel to retire on such a high note?
Well, I always said to myself, and to some of the others, that I would sooner step out at the top of the tree than gradually go down the other side and finish up nobody. Because if you do this, you can always be looked back upon, and you can just say to people, well, you know, I won that 4 times, I didn't have to do any more, I didn't have to prove anything.
How do you feel sitting in the pits or standing in the pits, watching someone like Colin Bond or Peter Brock driving around there? Do you worry about them?
Yes, I do. You know yourself the things what are going wrong, and the pitfalls which can be there if you don't know what you're doing. Like someone can give you a thump when you're not looking for it, and, put you on your ear, or you can get offline through the result of some clot not knowing what he's doing, or something can break, which happens very, very often. But you know that there are always a bit of warning when something's going to happen. The track gets blocked in some places, and you don't know it. All the little things you worry about all this for.
Hardie-Ferodo 500, testing ground for standard production cars, testing ground for horsepower and the brake power to tame it. The sort of brake power that can stop a thundering V8 from 130 miles per hour, time after time. The brake power you get from Hardie-Ferodo 500 disc brake pads.
The arrival of the professional was well and truly confirmed in 1970 with the win by Canadian-born Alan Moffat. #1 driver for Ford, Moffat is 31, married, and a full-time racing driver. When not competing, he works with Ford engineers on the development of new models. We found him at Calder Raceway near Melbourne, carrying out final tests to the Falcon GEHO Phase 3, the largest and most powerful car entered for the race this year. Has a big V8, 300 brake horsepower, and a top speed around 140 miles an hour. We asked Moffat how much testing and practicing he did.
Well, on a development test like this, we probably run up 100 miles. They disappear really quickly. We only do them about 5 miles at a time, but when you do 15 or 20 changes, it doesn't take long to do 100 miles.
What are you looking for?
The ultimate in a chassis combination which suits my particular style of driving, which over the past couple of years, when we hand it down to somebody else, doesn't seem to bother anyone else either.
What do you require?
Well, I think you're looking for something that can give you controllability in the corners when you're on that 9/10 or 10/10 region. The HO is engineered so well to start with that for ordinary driving, it's no problem to anybody. But as you well know, when you get deep into a corner really out of control, that's what I like to build a safety factor into it when I make a mistake, not just when everything's going fine. And with a view to Bathurst, safety is our paramount thought, really.
How important to you personally is the Bathurst 500-mile race?
Well, I should say after winning it last year, I've become very sentimentally attached to trying to win it again. It's undoubtedly the greatest challenge in Australian racing. It's not the Indianapolis 500, but then again, for what we're driving, more effort seems to go into it than what it takes to win the Indianapolis race. I think it has tremendous value to the public because they can see, particularly with a view to the regulations which we run under, which is practically stock vehicles, except for the addition of our Goodyear racing tires. It's the same car that anybody can buy off a Ford dealer showroom. And I think when they see the car going for 500 miles under the conditions of that track, it's a tremendous endorsement of the product. Down there, 50 off the back straight.
Through shell? What's the rating through shell?
So, very good up through shell.
Very good.
I don't know how we're going to get any more out of it, Mr. Marsden.
Howard Marsden, as new head of Ford's Special Vehicles Division, is in charge of their competition activities.
The Phase 2 car was a very successful vehicle competition-wise and also created a lot of sales demand. But it did, and we're the first people to admit it, need a certain amount of refinements. The Phase 3 vehicle is not a new vehicle. It's exactly the same one with refinements added. Go through them very briefly. On the rear deck lid, we have a spoiler. The idea here is to keep the car on the ground at high speeds, of which it is capable, let's be honest. Similarly, with regard to the front end, we have a front air scoop, which again stops air from traveling underneath the car and giving frontal lift. So the idea is that the car is now more stable at high speeds. Again, a good safety feature. We also have improved the brakes. We have a new braking system on the front end, which allows us to use a larger brake pad and again give more safety along these angles. Finally, the engine has been improved. The breathing, the exhaust breathing of the engine has been improved so that the car is smoother, more easy to run, and will make a more suitable road car. The safety angle on this vehicle has been covered as far as we can in many ways. One of the biggest hazards is fire. We carry 36 gallons of fuel in the back end of this car. If the car happens to turn over for any reason, we don't want that falling about. We have, at great expense, imported from America a rollover valve. The idea, as the car rolls over, a ball comes down, shuts off the fuel flow, just like that. Now, one other thing that we've managed to pull up here is foam. Now, this is a new idea developed in America and on the continent in racing cars. This foam is put into the tank and gives an opportunity for the fuel to be held should there be a puncturing of the tank at all. On top of that, it prevents the fuel from sloshing around. You've got to remember that we're carrying about 300 pounds weight of fuel in this car. We want to control it as far as possible.
At Ford's national headquarters north of Melbourne, we spoke with the company's vehicle marketing manager, David Morgan, about their racing activities.
Is it worthwhile? Well, we believe it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile through the spirit it develops within our own company, within our own dealers, if we're on a winning team. It's worthwhile in demonstrating to the public that your products are capable of winning in these races. And it's worthwhile in helping sell vehicles in the long run. The importance of Bathurst, I guess, stems from, it's the big race. It's the one that gets most publicity. It's now been going, I think, 10 years. It's the one every manufacturer wants to win.
For the last 3 years, the race has been a contest between the two arch rivals of the marketplace, Ford and General Motors Holdens. GMH do not compete directly. Instead, their cars are entered by the Holden dealer team and prepared in the Auburn workshops of Harry Firth. The location is in marked contrast to Ford, but Firth gets results. As team manager, he won the 1969 race for Holden with Monaro. This year, he's running a team of Tiranas. They are prepared in a special area within his workshops. We asked the man who makes winning a habit what has to be done to prepare a car to win at Bathurst.
Cool question to answer, actually. It's not big things, it's just a combination of a lot of little things. And it's getting the blueprints of the car and everything else, the workshop manual, the actual car itself. You look at it and you compare the, what it's supposed to be against what it actually is, and you just go through the whole thing bit by bit and one by one and pick the best out of all of them to give you the most power.
When you talk of blueprinting, what do you mean by that?
Well, in the design of every vehicle, it is laid down on what we call a blueprint, which is the exact specification. All of those blueprints have got a working tolerance on them, because in mass production you have to have, no two parts can be exactly the same. You know, they're all fractionally different. It might only be 1,000th of an inch or even more. And to pick the best out of it, you must use these tolerances, one against the other, to get the best specification which you want.
You have 3 men working with you here. How long do you allow to prepare a standard motor car for the Bathurst race?
I suppose it takes 3 weeks.
And what do you do in that time?
Initially run it, take it to pieces, balance it, blueprint it, put it together, test it, perhaps take it to pieces again and race it. Just to give you an idea, this car has just won the Dulux Rally. Now, out of this, we'll get a lot of lessons which we can put into our race cars. For instance, about the durability of things, and well, little things like this. We had to put an air pipe on to kill the oil pump, and all sorts of, just little things. These all wash off one onto the other.
The one Australian manufacturer who hasn't won the 500 is Chrysler, and it would like to. We visited Adelaide, where the new Valiant Charger RT models were being prepared. The engine is a big 6 with 280 brake horsepower. Other racing features include a 35-gallon fuel tank that takes up most of the boot space, big brakes and 7-inch wide alloy wheels. We spoke with Chrysler's Director of Product Development, Walt McPherson.
You know, racing has always been sort of a curious mixture between witchcraft and I look to myself for the science side of the thing, and we as a company look to Leo Gagin for the witchcraft. I've learned a lot of witchcraft from Leo, and I think he's learned a little science from us. He's put about 1,300 laps at Malawa track in the development of this car. A lot of that went into the very performance-type aspects we're looking at, but fortunately, a lot of the things that we learned in that development work were carried right down to the base charger. Everything from the rear axle flanges for durability to extending the pad on the steering wheel so that your thumbs don't get irritated with it. Seat comfort, lateral support. So performance is there. Leo's contributed even to the comfort thing.
How does a manufacturer feel about building such a powerful machine and offering it for general sale?
I think the best way to answer that is probably, I don't know of a car, or certainly the vast majority of cars that are produced in the Australian market will exceed 90 mile an hour. So it's not a matter of top speed, it's the attitude of the driver. The best way I think I can sound sincere about this is in my own case. I have 2 children, 20 and 22, and both of them are driving high-performance vehicles. I believe that there is safety in performance properly handled. It is education of the driver in their responsibility and how they handle the machinery that is at their disposal that determines safety. It is not the sheer performance of the vehicle itself. It is the acceleration, the ability to handle that car, the handling and other characteristics of the vehicle that are compatible with the power that is important.
Chrysler's preparation has been thorough. They know the test bench is no substitute for the race circuit, and in track tests, Leo Gagin has covered many hundreds of miles at racing speeds. No Australian racing driver has ever been so deeply involved in the development of a new model as Leo Gagin has been with this car. We asked him how well he thought the Charger would perform.
Well, I know the car's going to go very well because I've lived with it for the last couple of months, and it's been in the design stages for a long time, and we've managed to build out anything that may prevent us doing 500 miles. And that's a very nice start. I'm completely confident about the car's ability to last for 500 miles.
What has been your part in the development of the Charger?
Well, initially as a consultant, I was asked what ideally I would like to have in the car. And then, of course, we had to decide what could be built into the car as a practical thing. Asking a racing driver what he wants in a motor car can get some very expensive answers. But we had to build a car that can be driven on the road and will also hopefully win a lot of motor races. And I think we've managed to do it. Once that was done, my job was then to go and test it and see if we could break anything. And we've managed to not to break anything, and that's very, very pleasing.
Most of your really serious opposition will be going one up, only one driver per car. The team of 3 Chargers are going 2 up. Why is this?
Well, we have to stop twice for fuel. And my experience last year, whilst I did drive last year solo, I feel that the extra pace this year is going to be quite tiring on the drivers. And we do have a very well-balanced team of drivers. So our lead drivers will drive the first and last shift, and our backup drivers will drive the second shift. And then we'll have a fresh man in at the end of the race when I think possibly this year, instead of it running out into a slow procession, I think the last hour could be critical. And it'll be very, very important to be fresh and feeling fresh.
You'll be making 2 fuel stops. What sort of fuel consumption do you anticipate?
Round about 6.5 to the gallon under racing conditions.
Tyre wear?
Tyre wear is difficult to estimate again until the Saturday. We'll work around that on Saturday, but we have enough time whilst fueling to change a couple of tyres, so it's not a problem. The requirements of fueling are such that it takes about a minute to fill the car with fuel, because it's only permitted to use 1 churn at a time, and in that time we can change a couple of wheels.
You've got a 35-gallon tank to fill. You can do it in 1 minute?
Yes.
And change 2 tyres?
Yes.
Brake pad wear?
Brake pad wear is a matter of control of the driver. It's possible on a circuit as demanding as Bathurst to wear the brakes out quite early unless some intelligence is used by the driver. It's a little bit of a guessing game there. We must just try and estimate just how hard to use the brakes to make sure that they'll last 500 miles under those conditions.
Hardie-Ferodo stops the world. Friction materials for transport and industry.
The 500 is still several races within one, and in no area is competition keener than among the lower price cars, mainly Japanese. Toyota first entered a team in 1965 and has been back ever since. The managing director of Australian Motor Industries, Ken Huffam, explained why.
Class A, which is covers the smaller cars, they get best sales results obtained from that class, because the youngsters, the people who buy the small cars, associate themselves with the cars that are going around, and they buy cars, they're enthusiasts, and I think the best results are obtained from that class, and this is one we concentrate upon, and we have a lot of competition, particularly from other Japanese makes. In fact, the trio of, and we fight it out each year, and of course we think we're going to win this year. At least I'm told we're going to.
John Roxburgh, the first winner, is now with the Datsun racing team.
We've been concentrating on the 2 smaller classes, Class A and Class B, for about the last 5 years, and the reason for that is twofold. Firstly, our sponsors make Class A and Class B cars, which are competitive. And secondly, I always feel that there's a perhaps more technical interest in the smaller classes. I think they're a fair bit harder to drive in many ways because one has to drive 10/10ths all the time, whereas in a big car you can sit back to a certain extent and watch them get out of your road. I know it was a much easier driving initially in a bigger car than it ever was in a smaller one. But the classes have receded in importance now. I suppose the people that haven't got a chance of outright make up approximately 4/5 of the field, have about 5/9 of the accident. Perhaps they should get a bit of go publicity-wise over the coming year.
Running against the factories can be an expensive business. One privateer who knows is Digby Cook.
These types of cars, the big heavy machinery in a race of this nature, particularly a 500-mile race, although it's series production, I don't envy a lot of the boys that haven't the assistance as we've got. CIG have been very, very helpful to us over the year, particularly for this meeting. The cost factor, as far as we would be concerned, of such a meeting would run into something to the tune of $2,500 to $3,000. That's without the cost of the car itself.
Only 22, the talented Bob Morris finds costs are heavy for a young man.
The car, the GTHO Phase 3, cost $5,300. By the time you equip it with the proper race tyres, the air jacks and all the other necessary equipment to make it competitive, I would say a round figure for this race would be $10,000. This, of course, does not include the insurance, which is near impossible to get. Because I'm under 25 and this is a Bathurst 500, the premium would be $1,250 and I'd have to pay the first $1,000 in case of an accident.
One reason why insurance is a problem is that things tend to go wrong in a 500-mile race for production motorcars that weren't always designed for the stresses of the racetrack. Along with cars themselves, the things that go onto or into the vehicle have improved enormously since 1960. Take oil. We spoke with Castrol's technical director, Bob Holmes.
We feel very sincerely that this race, that this type of racing, has helped us make better products for the man in the street. 10 years ago, this product didn't exist. With the oils that were available in 1960, I would very much doubt if they would survive more than half the race in the modern car, the car that the average man drives.
Brakes take a fearful beating in 130 laps around the mountain. That's one reason why Hardie-Ferodo became involved. It helped in the development of better brake pads and linings. One laboratory test of theirs is to accelerate this disc to 110 miles per hour and then stop it quickly. Shock absorbers have contributed to better road holding. This Armstrong rig is designed to test dampers to destruction. In the 11 years since the 500 began, there have been spectacular advances in tyre design, and top drivers like Don Holland devote days to testing. He's in a game where saving seconds counts, and he can do that with the correct tyre pattern, tread compound and pressure. Holland spends a lot of time getting them right for his XU1.
Should be pretty well spot on with pressure and to cast some timber.
Do you change tyres if it's wet or dry?
We will change tyres if it is wet or dry, depending whether it's only a drizzle or whether it's a downpour. If it's a downpour, we'll change to wet weather tyres, which
will save us a couple of seconds a lap. But the amount of time changed, if the rain looks like it's going to last for an hour, we'll actually save time by coming in and changing tyres.
I'll go, Ted.
Technical men spend as much time at practice sessions as the drivers. When Dunlop brought out a new ultra-wide tyre suitable for the big HOs, past 500 winner Fred Gibson was there to hear it all from Dunlop man Ted Spooner.
Tread shuffle. You've got your braking on the side here with these sipes. The movement up here, you've got your tread depth, and these little marks here you'll see will give you predictability on breakaway on your corners.
There's been a revolution in tyres, especially with this new Dunlop that's just arrived from England. Tyres are probably the most important factor of motor racing today, because you can pick up a second, or if you're lucky, a couple of seconds a lap by putting a different tyre in the car. So we spend a lot of time tyre testing. I'm probably here 2 days before race, just getting used to the car and different sorts of tyres and working pressures and everything out. So I think tyres are probably the most important part of motor racing today, really, especially on a touring car.
Testing is testing, and if you want to find out the limit of adhesion, there's one sure way. Go beyond the limit. Organising the race is a year-long job, and the responsibility falls on the shoulders of the Secretary of the Australian Racing Drivers Club, John Hinksman.
We look upon safety as the #1 factor, even above crowd attendance at the meeting. And in this respect, we're always updating our regulations. We allow them to use racing tyres because of the speeds the cars are reaching. We're allowing them to build in roll bars in the case of a car rolling over. It gives the driver every protection. We're now allowing the incorporation in the car of fire extinguisher systems, which automatically come on immediately if a car catches on fire. Where we started off years ago with 1 fire tender, we now have 5 fire tenders. Where we had 300 officials, we've now got 600. And this is how it goes on.
Living testimony to the value of safety equipment is Tony Roberts, winner in '69 and luckiest man in 1970.
It's been said that I had the most spectacular crash ever in motorsport in Australia. Coming off the skyline, which is the top of the mountain at Bathurst, and on my start to descent down the mountain, I was doing about 90 mile an hour, approaching the braking zone to commence my run down the mountain, and I put my foot towards the brake pedal, and that was the last thing I remember as far as having control of the car. I can remember hitting the fence, and from the film afterwards, I went over the fence backwards, I presume doing about 70 mile an hour. It all went quiet, and I think I counted to about 5 seconds, and the scenery was going blue, green, blue, green, blue, green. I hit, and I thought, my God, what's going to happen? How far is it down this mountain? Because I'd never looked over the edge of that particular part of the track before. And I was lucky it was pretty steep, but I ran across the angle of the mountain and came to rest. I think I rolled about 5.5 times, came to rest very close, one roll away from a big old tree, and the next thing I know I was standing bolt upright out of the car.
Hands, knees and bumps a daisy, I like a bustle that bends. Hands, knees and the bumps a daisy, what is a bump between friends? Hands, knees, oh don't be lazy, let's make the party a wow. Now then, hands, knees and bumps a daisy, turn to your partner.
Testing ground for standard production cars. Testing ground for horsepower and the brake power to tame it. The sort of brake power that can stop a thundering V8 from 130 miles per hour, time after time. The brake power you get from Hardie-Ferodo 500 disc brake pads.
The 500 has seen many incidents and produced many characters. You've met some of them. Tomorrow we should have the best race of the series, the 12th 500, and it promises to be the most hotly contested 500 ever. We'll be at Bathurst to bring you a live telecast throughout the day. It'll be a big operation. It's one that will involve more than 100 people and has taken many, many weeks of planning. Just as the race has grown faster, so have the methods of recording its progress. Today, the 500 is followed by computer. Results are sent by telephone to the IBM Centre at Rosebery in Sydney, and there they're stored and categorised in the computer's memory banks, then relayed back to the circuit. It's a split-second service. The equipment used costs $3.5 million. It shows how the 500 has progressed. Today, it's big business, both in those who compete and those who support it. As far as those who compete are concerned, the results, of course, are critical. We thought we should ask some of those most closely involved to predict what is going to happen tomorrow.
But we're going to go up there with two cars. They're going to be very competitive, and we're going to be able to win.
Well, you can't ever prophesize who's going to win, but you can have a look at who's not going to lose, and I don't think a Ford's going to lose.
Ford have built, I believe, a very fine car, a very powerful car, almost an improved car. So on performance, I think Ford should win it. But then the reliability, the reliability factor comes in, and the small car there has a big advantage because it uses less fuel, less brakes, less everything, less driver fatigue. So from that point of view, and plus reliability, I think the smaller cars have got a good chance of winning also.
There's only two reasons to enter a race, and that's either to learn something or to go out and win it. Well, last year we learned an awful lot. We're through with school. We're in to win this one.
I think the Falcons will get up, but the Valiants and the Tiranas also have a good chance.
The race must be between Bond, Brock, Moffat.
Well, why not let me tell you that about 3:30 on Sunday when everybody becomes an expert.